Hi everyone, Electrode here. Just a bit of an update on something I've sussed out. It's kind of strange, so I thought I'd share it with you guys. Just to show you something. This is working off one alternator. It's still just a standard 3-phase with the regulator disconnected. The brush is going straight to the armature, and the 6 wires coming out for the 3 phases getting joined up here. And as I said before, this time I've done it with rectifiers, not diodes, because it gives me a tighter pulse. But what I've done this time is I've only used 2 phases for the cell itself, and I'm only using a single cell at this stage, it's easier just to gauge production, because I can't seal the top, and there's no real practical way for me to measure production except for visually at the moment, so that's what I'm going by. It's a bit rough, I know, but you know, what do you do? Anyway, look, I'll turn it on and I'll show you guys what I mean. Now, there's a certain voltage which is about 4 volts or so, but I'll use 3 now, and that's a voltage which it produces gas. Clear it up for you guys a bit so you can see a bit better. Yeah, it produces gas, but there's no strain on the motor. So when I turn it off, you can hear the motor. It doesn't. Whereas if I go to a high voltage, you can hear the motor draining, and when I turn it off, you can hear the definite drain in that. So 3 volts seems to, well, yeah, thereabouts, seems to work alright. So you turn it off and there's no change in the motor, but at the same time when you turn it on, it produces gas. Now there's the way for that. That's the 2 phases, and I'll steady it up for you. And the gap in the middle is the missing phase, so that's the thing. Now, what I've done with the missing phase, or the 3rd phase, is bridge it. So I've got the positive of that one going to one of the phases, not on the positive and negative of the other rectifier, but one of the AC phases. And on the other rectifier from the other AC phase, I've got it going to this negative. Now when I do that, the waveform changes to this. So that's when I disconnect it. That's the normal one we had before. Looks like that. And when I connect that there, it goes like that. Interesting thing is, when I do that, oops, and that's like that, like look at the production. I'll disconnect it. Let's disconnect it now. That's going back to normal. Okay. Now I'll connect it. You can see that produces more. And that's the waveform you get. It's like a square wave with other sort of waves on top of it. It's like a superimposed wave. I think that's I'm trying to get what a dual voltage zone, whatever that is. So I'm mucking around with different effects, and yeah, so that's production you're getting. Again, there's no change when you turn the motor off, so it's not dragging physically on the motor anymore, but it is producing more than if you had just those going there. Now, if you were to connect all 3 phases to the cell, you would notice the drag on the motor. This way, you get similar, if not a little bit more production than all three connected to the cell, but there's no drag on the motor, so maybe it's a more efficient way. So now, as I said, this has only got the standard 3-phase. Hang on, I'll turn that off. It's only got the standard 3-phase, so it's not 9-phase, so to speak, so like Stan's was, which is what I plan on doing with this one here. I'm just using this one as a rewinding guide, so when I rewind this one, I can get the right order, etc. It's just a bit of a help, you know what I mean? But before I do that, because I'll probably have to pay to do that, because the amount of wire I'll need, it's hard for me to wind it like I've never done it before, you know, so it's going to be hard for me to get it this tight, so I'll probably have to pay someone to do that. So before I pay someone to do that, that's where I've made this, and I can do a few experiments with this, because what this is effectively is I'm making a 3-phase alternator. Then my brushes, I haven't glued them in or soldered them up at the moment. This thing still comes apart. I'm still working on it, but this is just a rough setup to show you what I'm going to do. They're the brushes that I'm going to set in place. Like I can move all these. I haven't set them yet, but anyway, when I do that, you can imagine that that's going to contact right. And then my phases. That's easy to rewind. I've got a huge electromagnet that goes on each side of this, so it's easy to power. I can power that off my DC supply. So there's my variable amplitude again, and again I'll probably be just pairing this with a small motor, an AC motor or something like that. So we'll see how it goes. But that's the brush set for this side, because I couldn't fit everything on that side. I could, but it's a tight squeeze, so I used 2 on that side, and this sort of will bolt on there, so as it turns around it'll make contact, sort of, if you know what I mean. But yeah, that will fit into there. So when it's done, and that on that side, but I've got to close the gaps there and there. So hopefully it's a bit of work, but it should save me a lot of money in mucking around before I wind that. So anyway, again, post your comments and I'll let you know how I go with other stuff. See ya.